Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. As you can see today, I'm sitting in my Stephen King corner and I'm about to do the book review for the most recent book, Later. This is a hard case crime book. It'll be the third one he's done in the hard case crime series, joining The Colorado Kid and Joyland, which were both really good reads. And this one you can put into that same category. This one was really good. Before we get into it, I just want to let you know today I'll be doing two things. I'll be, going over the summary of the book plot-wise, spoiler-free, giving you my thoughts on the book like I usually do with my book reviews. And then after, I'll put a little disclaimer so you know if you want to continue or not. I will be doing the connections to the Stephen King universe, and there were some pretty cool ones in this to a very popular and a very well-known Stephen King novel. So yes, like I said, I'll be sure to put a little disclaimer and let you know when I'm about to go into that. So just in case you don't want anything spoiled for yourself and you haven't read it yet or anything like that, because the worst thing would be to spoil it because it was quite cool. All right, enough rambling. Let's get into this. All right, so this book follows Jamie Conklin, who is a young kid. We follow him. It follows the point of view of him telling us the story, like he'd be writing it. So it follows starting from when he's about like 6 years old or something like that, and it kind of takes us through as he grew up into adolescence, and it ends up around when he was about, I think 22 was when he was, how old he was when he was actually writing what we're reading. So basically, Jamie can see dead people. Now, not like the Sixth Sense. Now, it's funny because they do mention the Sixth Sense in this book, because obviously when you hear I see dead people, that's instantly where your mind's going to go. But it's not in that same sense. So basically, Jamie, when somebody dies, for about 4 or 5 days after their death, they linger. Their spirit lingers, and Jamie can not only see them, but he can converse with them as well. So we get introduced at the beginning to this power through his mom, who is a literary agent. Stephen King loves to throw in, the writers or the literary business into his novels, as we've all seen in the past. So his mom's a literary agent, and they're kind of hard pressed for money. So she is relying on this meal ticket that would be the last novel in this well-known series by this author. The author ends up dropping dead in the midst of writing the last novel. So she decides, because she's aware of Jamie's ability, she decides to take Jamie to see if he's still around. They end up finding him. He ends up basically telling Jamie how the last book would end, and she ends up ghostwriting it, no pun intended there, to finish the series. She cashes in on it, and everything works out great. So that kind of introduces us to his power. It doesn't really give anything away for the main plot of the book. That was kind of just to let us know what was going on with him. As the book progresses, Jamie's mother, who ends up taking on a girlfriend who is, because she's a single mother, she ends up taking on a girlfriend who is a NYPD detective. Well, this detective decides to kind of exploit Jamie's power for her own gain, to try and progress in the business and everything like that by using him to kind of help her solve cases and things like that. So I don't want to give too much else away plot-wise, otherwise it'd kind of be spoiling the entire novel for you. So overall, my thoughts on it was a great read. It's always exciting for someone like me who has read all of Stephen King's works, so when a new novel comes out, it's just pretty nice to get back on it again, and it brings me back to old times when I was kind of reading through all his books. So it's an exciting time for me. I did get through this in one sitting. It's pretty short. It's only like 248 pages, I think. And yeah, I mean, it was a page turner. Like I said, it doesn't take long to get going, and the whole thing is pretty exciting from start to finish. Once again, Stephen King at his best. It just feels like this guy's not really falling off at all. I really hope he has a lot more left in the tank, and he keeps bringing us a lot of really good novels. So once again, this is a thumbs up from me. Now I'm going to talk about the connection. Like I said before, there is a connection to a very well-known Stephen King book, a very popular book. So if you don't want any spoilers on that, now might be the time to call it quits on this video. If you're okay with it, if you've already read it, you just want to hear what I have to say about it, then stay with me. Okay, so outside of the usual number 19 popping up and all the numbers adding up to 19 connection that we've basically come to expect in any Stephen King works, there was a bigger connection that connects back to the book It. So let's start with how it came about. So Jamie, one of the spirits that he ends up talking to help the police force, is the serial bomber I was talking about. And this serial bomber didn't act like normal spirits Jamie talked to. He ended up not fading away like the other ones do. He ended up sticking around and haunting Jamie for years to come. So as Jamie was dealing with this, he took solace in this older gentleman who lived in his building, who was kind of a family friend. And this gentleman brought to his attention the ritual of Chud, which we all know was the way that the Losers Club in It ended up fighting It. And he brings it up to him, he does some research on it, and he ends up, doing his own ritual of Chud to this evil spirit to try and get rid of him. And when he's in the midst of this, he ends up talking about how there was a bright light inside of him, and he could feel it and he could see it, and he even referred to it as the deadlights, which is another very common phrase from the book It, which leads me to believe, now in my personal opinion, as much as I would like to think that maybe this was the same entity or the same spirit that was It and was Pennywise, I don't think it was, like we saw in the Dark Tower series, when they encountered Dandelo, which was another kind of same species, I guess, if you want to say, with It. He was very similar in that sense, that there was more than one of them, or more than one being or entity from that same category. So maybe it was just another one, yet again. And he even mentioned that this being or this force, this force or these lights, they're incomprehensible. They're from outside of the universe. So it's pretty, the deadlights, the talking about the ritual of Chud and performing the ritual of Chud, it's all nods to It. And I just thought it was the first time in a long time we've had any sort of connection to any really classic Stephen King book like that, or especially something as big as It, and based on how popular it is. So I thought that was pretty cool. I hope there's really more of that to come in some of his future works. I'd love for him to really bring it back to some of his classics and give us some good meat when it comes to these Stephen King universe connectivity and all that stuff. Because I think that's what a lot of us are tuning in for these days when we pick up his novels. So yes, overall, once again, this is a thumbs up. The connection was really cool. If you haven't read it yet, you were just here to see what it was like, I really suggest picking it up. And yeah, I mean, let me know what your thoughts were in the comments below if you have read it, because I'd love to get the conversation going, especially about the whole connections and everything like that. All right, guys, we'll talk to you soon. Bye.